I'm going to do the Vulcan mind meld right now and compel you to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, totally kidding. I don't have that kind of superpower. I'm Jennifer Bleam. I'm the Cybersecurity Sherpa, and I have a lot of superpowers, but the Vulcan mind meld, not so much, not one of them. What I do have a superpower in, though, is helping MSPs learn how to sell cybersecurity very profitably and to go to market with that and become a thought leader in their geography, in their industry, so they can sell more cybersecurity easily and profitably. So what are we talking about today, and what in the world does it have to do with the Vulcan mind meld? Well, that's what you're going to learn in just a minute. So when MSPs come to me and they ask me to take a listen to one of their sales calls, or we do a quick debrief, it often comes down to one fundamental. In fact, when I think back to one of my most recent sales slumps, it was when I was working for a startup and I had not closed a sale in weeks. And this was after a huge run where I was closing anywhere from 3 to 10 sales in a single day. So I finally went to my manager and said, I need you to listen to a couple of my sales calls. Something is broken. I cannot close a sale. I need your help. And it came down to this one fundamental. And no, that fundamental is not the Vulcan mind meld, but it's something very similar. It is this concept called control. And today I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you should be controlling your sales calls. So number 1 is an upfront contract. That is the term that Sandler gives this. And the concept is on your prospecting calls, as well as at the beginning of your sales calls, you should explain to the prospect what your process looks like and get them to commit to the next step. If the next step is going to be a network audit or a security assessment or a risk assessment or a data privacy assessment, you explain that up front. Hey, here's what we're going to do today. At the end, if it makes sense, I'm going to give you an offer for a data assessment or a privacy assessment. And if it makes sense to you, you'll say, yes, we'll talk about the next steps. We'll go from there. Just a very simple upfront contract not only positions you as a professional salesperson, but it gives the prospect an awful lot of confidence that you know what you're doing. The alternative is to not use an upfront contract, to not leverage control in the sales process. And then what happens is things go completely off the rails because you did not wrangle in the prospect. And when they're not following your process and your upfront contract or your tie down or your micro commitment, whatever you want to call that, then they're going to be following their playbook. And their playbook demands that they get a whole lot of information with zero intention of making the sale. Your playbook is to get them to move down the process and hopefully gain enough information to convince them to do business with you. So that is your playbook. The other thing I want to point out is that if you are not upfront about what your process looks like, how long it takes, what they should expect from you, what their responsibilities are as a prospect, then again, it can go off the rails. Recently, my husband and I were looking for a new front door. The old one had a rock kicked through it, and so the glass had shattered. We needed a new front door. I booked a sales call. I was then the prospect. I booked it for the evening because the prospect or the sales company was savvy enough to say, is there more than one decision maker? Of course there is. I want my husband involved in this decision as well. So we booked it for the evening. Now, I made the mistake as the prospect, or more accurately, the sales company made the mistake of not telling me how long this appointment was going. So in my mind, it was, going to be a 30, 45-minute conversation. I had an idea what kind of a door I wanted. We'll pick out the door. They'll give me a price. We'll make a decision. The end. My first tip that this was not going to be a short sales call was when the salesperson made not 2, but 3 trips out to his car to bring in sample materials and sample wood and sample glass. And let me show you the hinges. And I'm like, oh my word, this is not what I thought I was getting myself into. So this front door company, who incidentally did not make the sale, didn't tell me up front in the prospecting call how long to allow for the sales call. And then at the beginning of the sales call, the salesperson didn't even tell me. I finally said about 40 minutes in, can you tell me how long this is going to last? Because we really only allowed 30 or 45 minutes. And he's like, oh, it won't be longer than 2 or 3 hours. Who has 2 or 3 hours to pick out a new front door, especially when I had just said to him, we only budgeted 45 minutes. We're tired. It's dark. The kids have homework. I want to put them to bed. I am ready to collapse. I am worthless in the evening. It completely set up the salesperson for failure. So that is point number one. The upfront contract will allow you to maintain control of the sales situation, like the Vulcan mind meld. Okay, point number two, as we talk about control in the sales process, is the discovery questions. Now, discovery is not a time for idle chit chat or just filling the space because you have 45 minutes allotted for discovery. Actually, discovery questions should be very strategic. They should be planned ahead of time. You should be directing and leading and controlling the dialogue, the direction of those conversations, the emotion, the pace, how they are feeling, whether or not they want what you are offering, whether or not they are aware that there is a gap between where they are now and where you want to take them. All of that should be happening inside of that discovery process, which is all about control. And that control is so important. Now, point number three, as far as control, is that I need you to ask for the sale. Very, very often when I am dialoguing with MSPs and we're debriefing sales calls and we're breaking down what happened, and I say, okay, so we got to the end and then what happened? And I get this blank stare. And I'm like, well, did you explain your next steps? Did you ask for the network audit? Did you ask for the ability to solve all these problems that you just uncovered during discovery? And I get this kind of sheepish, well, no, your job is to ask for the sale. No one is ever going to say that. I shouldn't say no one. There may be the occasional person that says, that sounds wonderful. Can I please pay you now? More than likely, you have to ask for that sale. Now, sometimes you don't ask for the sale because you get uneasy or you're not sure what that next step is, or perhaps you just simply forget. But oftentimes, you don't ask for the sale because you're afraid of no, or you're afraid of the objections that are going to happen when you say, so can we partner with you? This is what we do all day long. We're so good at this. I know you're not going to find anyone else in our area that knows your company the way we are going to get to know your company. And I want to work with you. Can I please help you? If you ask that question, then you are going to get answers. You are going to maybe get a no. You may get a yes, but more than likely you're going to get some objections or some stalls or some stutters. And if you aren't sure how to deal with those, then you won't ask for the sale because you're afraid of losing control later on in the sales process. So remember, your job as a salesperson is obviously to get the sale, and you don't get that unless you ask for it. So that is point number three. So to recap, this very, very important part of the sales process is control, kind of like the Vulcan mind meld, but not exactly. And the three instances that I gave you today, and this is by no means exhaustive, you will start to see control show up over and over again, both when you're a prospect as well as when you're a salesperson, either control that you were able to maintain or the awareness that you simply lost control of the sales process and then you need to bring it back into control and get it back on the rails. So those three examples that I gave you, number one, the upfront contract in the sales process, but also in the prospecting call as you're setting yourself up for success. So that upfront contract, the discovery portion of your sales call, very important that you control that. And then finally, asking for the sale or asking for that very next step and establishing, again, your professionalism as a salesperson. That's it for now. I'll be back soon with another video.